Hey guys, welcome back to the Canopy build series. Both the full kitchen fit out and the 12-volt system are now fully installed and working really well. If you want to check out those episodes, they will be linked in the description down below. But today we're going to be building a full drawer setup in on this right-hand side. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I'm not feeling that confident about this project. It's quite a bit different to the stuff I've built in the past, and I'm sure there's going to be a few issues that arise that need to be overcome along the way. So with that in mind, let's jump forward in time to see how this project turns out, so you can decide if it's worth watching along or not. Well, hopefully that looked all right and I'm not wasting my time here. Imagine if it was just like me standing here looking sad, gesturing to some forward drive supercenter drawers. Hopefully that's not the case, but what is the plan for this drawer system? Well, essentially I'm going to be building a full edge-to-edge system with 3 drawers that come out from underneath. They won't be too tall because I do need that 12-volt system to be above the drawer, so I can still remove that without having to pull the whole drawer system out of the way. To anchor the whole drawer system to the ground of the canopy, I'm going to be using the same system that I mounted my slide-out kitchen build using, which is just cutting down some 50 by 30mm aluminium box. There'll be 4 channels of that on the canopy floor, and everything will be bolted to those channels. And that's because those aluminium channels are incredibly strong, super lightweight, but also perfectly straight, which is pretty important for drawer runners. Then I'll knock up some simple plywood drawers to slide in between those mounting rails on some heavy duty drawer runners, and of course knock up a simple top to close everything in. Now it sounds nice and simple, but I suppose time will tell. So my 4 mounting beams are now finished, and I've also drilled some large holes in the top there just using my step drill bit that are big enough for my 10mm socket to fit through, and that's going to allow me to actually bolt these down to the canopy floor. And to get that thread into the canopy floor, I'm going to be once again using riv nuts. They're what I've been using so far for mounting the rest of my accessories, and they've been working really well, so why not go down that route once again? And to do so, once again I'll be using my little riv nut adapter here that just connects to my standard drill. So those mounting beams are now installed in the canopy floor, and they're really sturdy. Very happy with how they've turned out. And I've just been going through with a measuring tape and making sure that the space between the front of those 2 columns is exactly the same as the space at the rear for all 3 sets of drawers. And that's probably the most important thing when you're building your own drawers, especially using heavy duty drawer runners. You can't have any variance between the front and the back because it just makes the drawer slides really stiff to operate. So it's definitely worth spending the extra time now to get this right, because everything else should hopefully then just fall in place from there. Hopefully. Now, as for the drawer slides, I'm once again using the Dunn & Watson slides for this drawer project. These are their Titan series, 227 kilo rated, with little locks on the front there, so we can lock our drawers closed so they're not banging on the canopy door while driving along. And more importantly, we can actually lock these in the open position as well if we're not parked on a flat surface. Now, I did get a few comments last time I used these saying you can get very similar slides cheaper from some different suppliers around Australia. So I will leave a bunch of links in the description down below if you guys want to check those out instead and save yourself a little bit of money that way. But when I read those comments, I'd already ordered these, so I was kind of stuck with using them. Anyway, the next step is to get those drawer runners installed on the mounting beams. There we go, 3 sets of drawer runners are now fully installed in the canopy setup, sitting nice and straight, I hope, and this is the first time I'm actually getting to visualize how big these drawers are actually gonna be, and I'm pretty happy with the result. They seem like they're a really nice, usable size. They come out a decent way, they've got decent width, and we should be able to make the height pretty reasonable as well without going too overboard, so you can still kind of see in and actually access those drawers. Now, I did really agonize over maybe building a 2-drawer setup instead of going for the triple. Even while I was constructing this, I was like, maybe I will just whack one mounting rail right in the middle, do away with one of the drawer runners and just make a twin drawer set, because you do gain a bit of extra space inside the drawers by going for less drawers. Because with the triple, I have had to allocate space for this extra mounting rail and also an extra set of drawer runners. So I'm essentially losing this much space just here. But the main reason I did go for this triple setup was mainly just to be able to organize my camping supplies a little bit better, because this way one drawer can be all our camping gear like spare lighters, tent pegs, tarps and the like. One drawer can be spare parts and tools, and the third drawer can just be the bits and pieces we want to take away for that particular trip. It might be camera gear, could be clothes, extra food, or anything really. So just something to keep in mind if you are constructing your own drawers and you really value having as much internal space as possible, less is definitely more. So it's time to knock together some simple drawers to live within these drawer runners. And so far I've been trying to keep the weight down for this canopy fit out process, which was the main reason I opted to use these aluminium mounting rails instead of building a full wooden box to surround the drawers. And I'm trying to carry that mentality forward into the construction of these drawers as well. And I'm actually going to be making them using 9mm marine ply. I bought a few sheets of this stuff just here. Now this is probably a little bit thinner than you'd normally use for a project like this. I've seen people use anything between 12 and 15mm. However, these drawers aren't massive, so they shouldn't need to be ridiculously strong. And I am planning on reinforcing the edges with this aluminium angle here, which should give it a fair bit more strength. So I'm hoping to try and achieve a nice balance between lightweight and strength. Anyway, that's my rough plan. I've already written down all my measurements, so time to get building. If you can hear some noise in the background, it is pouring down with rain in Perth at the moment, so good day to be in the garage. And all the pieces are now cut out for my first drawer. I'm just making one to start with to make sure my plan is going to work properly. Drawers aren't really my speciality, so I'm really just trying to make it up as I go along, and hopefully this works well. But once I know for sure, then I'll make the other two. So essentially down the bottom there, that's the main base of my drawer. This is going to be, to you, the right-hand side. And then I've got another edge here that's going to be the left-hand side. Now these edges are going to be connected to the base using these strips of aluminium angle there that I've drilled holes every 5 centimeters. So they're going to run along the edges of the drawers, one on that side like that, and one on this side to give it a lot more strength than if I was to just put screws from the base into these sides. And then of course I've got my small panel here that's going to go on the back. And I tell you what, that's a pretty decently sized drawer. It's actually bigger in person than I thought it was going to be, so I reckon we're going to fit a ton of stuff in these drawers. So the next step now is to screw this all together and make sure it fits. Well, drawer number 1 is now finished and installed. Well, the frame of drawer 1 anyway, and it went really, really well. So now slides out like so. I'm not sure why I built the center one first, but anyway, very, very happy with the result. This was my first time working with marine ply, and I gotta say, it is so much better than regular plywood. I definitely recommend opting for marine ply if you're about to commence a DIY project of your own. It just stays so nice and straight when you're cutting it and making all these different pieces. So when the time comes to put it together, everything stays nice and square. Whereas I found regular plywood, and I might have just got unlucky, but it tends to like to warp in and bend as you're constructing with it. Whereas this, nice and straight and incredibly strong. Like, honestly, this drawer is so solid, and it's only constructed with 9mm ply, which is not thick, but I have no concerns whatsoever over the durability and the strength of this drawer. I feel like I could almost sit in it, but I'm not gonna try that because, yeah, who knows what could happen then. So very happy with how this has turned out. It is getting pretty late now, so I'm gonna call it a night on this project for now, but stoked with where we've gotten to. That drawer, honestly, is pretty much perfect, and now it's just a matter of rinsing and repeating that procedure for the N2 drawers. So we'll pick things up tomorrow. Alrighty, brand new day, feeling fresh, time to create 2 more drawers. There we go, it took a while, but now we have 3 drawers built, installed, and all working really, really well. So, drawer number 1, drawer number 2, and drawer number 3. Now, sometimes with drawer runners, it can be a little bit finicky to get them to slide out nice and smoothly, but I must have got lucky with all these because honestly, first go, they all just slid out pretty much perfectly, so very happy with that. I did decide to go back through and add a small divider to the center of each drawer that kind of comes up just under halfway. And I did this for a couple of reasons. The first was to try and make these drawers just a bit easier to use, essentially giving us the ability to section off different parts of the drawer. And secondly, and probably more importantly, it actually stiffens up these whole drawers and makes them a lot stronger, particularly the base of those drawers there. So over time, they shouldn't develop any bows because that center divider is holding it nice and rigid. Well, now that I'm happy with how they're looking and also how they're functioning, I'm actually going to pull them back out of the setup and give them a coat of black paint to make them look a little bit neater, mainly around the top sections here and also the outside of the drawers. I'm not going to worry too much about the inside because I'm planning on actually lining the full insides with marine carpet. So yeah, I reckon just black around the outsides is going to look a fair bit neater than exposed plywood. Anyway, fair bit to do, so let's get back to it. So my drawers are now fully blacked out around the outside. All 3 are done and looking pretty nice. My 3rd drawer is just on the floor over there. I just can't fit it on my trusty wooden horses. It turned out really neat. Paint seems to hide those little imperfections in the wood and of course my craftsmanship as well. So yeah, it's looking pretty neat overall. Black underneath too. And the next step is going to be to add some carpet to the inside of these drawers I reckon it would look pretty nice to have that carpet on the inside. So I'm going to be using the same marine carpet as I've used for the rest of the canopy build. This stuff actually got wet yesterday, so it's been spending the whole day drying out, and hopefully it's dry enough to put on now. And to attach it to these drawers, once again, going to be using my synthetic grass adhesive. I've used it for the rest of the build so far, and it's been working really, really well. Incredibly sticky and long lasting. The only downside is the smell does linger around for about a week after using it, but I'm happy to pay that price for the strong bond that it creates. I haven't had the best experience with other glues in the past, like some spray contact adhesives and other bits and pieces, and they always just eventually come loose, whereas this stuff sticks much, much stronger. Anyway, that's my rough plan. Time to get to it. Alrighty, it's been about 24 hours since that last clip you just watched, but man, I am so happy with how these drawers are coming along. They're looking like real professional drawers now, or maybe not quite professional, but not bad for a DIY effort. That carpet went on really smoothly, stoked with how that's turned out, and it's actually completely hidden all the brackets from inside the drawers, so they're looking pretty tidy. So tonight we've only got a couple of hours to work on this project, so my bite-sized addition to the drawers are going to be to make up some front panels. So tomorrow we can hopefully begin work on the enclosure to go around the outside. These front panels are going to be nice and simple, just small sheets of plywood, the same stuff we've used for the rest of the drawers. There'll be some small sections cut out on the sides for our locking tabs to protrude through, and of course we'll be covering them in carpet. Actually, this is a great chance to show you guys how much space I'm actually losing going for a 3-drawer setup compared to if I just built a 2-drawer configuration. Essentially, it's this much space right here, so if I had 2 drawers instead of 3, both my drawers would be half of that space larger, because I wouldn't have had to add the extra aluminium mounting rail to the floor, and of course allocate space for this extra set of drawer runners. So it's just a bit of a trade-off between how much usable space you want to have and how much you want to be able to section off your storage. So if you want the most amount of storage, just one big drawer is going to be the answer. Just have 1 drawer runner there, 1 drawer runner there, and essentially this whole space would be one massive drawer. But I just find that's a little bit harder to organize. Alrighty, they're starting to look like proper drawers now. We've got those 3 carpeted fronts all installed. However, I have just run into a bit of a snag with what was going to be my next step in this process. So I bought these handles the same style as what I used on the other side of the canopy, just cheapies from Bunnings, but get the job done. And my plan was to have these installed around the top section of each drawer. I was then going to run a bit of aluminium angle across the tabs at the bottom there. So to open the drawer, you just push that down and then slide out essentially by using that handle. However, what I didn't realize when I was constructing these is how precise the measurements have actually turned out to be. So essentially with this canopy door, there's a bit of a bulkhead section here that houses all the electronics and the locking system. When this canopy door closes down, it's literally like 1 millimeter off resting on these locking tabs. And obviously this handle sticks out a fair bit further than those orange tabs do, and it needs to, so there's enough room for your fingers to get in behind. So I'm not going to be able to use these handles. And I'm just trying to think of a alternative solution because I don't really want to have to cut a hole in the front of those drawers there. I think that would look pretty tacky. And there's no other handles that are going to be much more streamlined than that because obviously your fingers have to get in behind there. So Bianca actually suggested a soft handle. So you anchor it kind of left and right and there's a soft piece that might just be thin enough to not protrude past those orange tabs. So might go down that route. But yeah, I guess time will tell. So yeah, going to sleep on it and see what solution I come up with tomorrow. It's a brand new day and I think we've solved the issue with our drawer handles, but we'll get to that later in the video. This morning you'll notice that I've removed my center drawer, and that's because it's officially weigh-in time. So this drawer weighs 4.5 kilos, which I reckon is actually pretty decent considering the amount of storage we are gaining from that drawer. The runners they're attached to weigh 6.5 kilos or thereabouts, which means each drawer complete with the runners weighs 11 kilos. So for my triple setup, I'm looking at a weight of 33 kilos. Alrighty, got that drawer reinstalled, and my next job is going to be to create a simple one-handed locking lever that operates both of these locking tabs on each drawer. To do that, nice and simple, just using this length of aluminium angle just from Bunnings. I'm going to cut it down to size and essentially just run it between those two locking tabs. So with one single-handed push down, I can unlock both of those tabs at once. Now this is actually something I was planning on also doing for the kitchen side of my canopy fit out as well, and a lot of you guys suggested it in the comments, which was a great suggestion. The only problem with that system is because that was essentially like a two-stage slide, it just wouldn't have worked for that build, but it should be perfect for these drawers. Got those handles all installed and they make opening the drawers so much easier, just that nice one-handed operation. That way if you're coming out to the car and you've got like armloads of stuff, you don't have to operate both those locking tabs, literally just with one hand, push down, open it up, load your drawer up, and away you go. So very, very happy with that. And now we can finally move on to the next step, which is going to be to build an enclosure to go around the outside of these drawers. Now I'm trying to keep this pretty simple. I'm just going to be making up 4 frame pieces with connected aluminium because it's nice and lightweight and also pretty strong. They're just going to be mounted kind of next to each drawer on those original aluminium beams we installed right at the start of this project. They're going to come up to just above the height of the drawers. Then I'll make up some simple carpeted panels to be bolted down to those. So here's what I've built to support those drawer tops above those drawers. They're 4 simple aluminium frames built using connected. The top's uninstalled right now, they're just sitting there because I will do those after I've already installed these base pieces in the canopy. Up the top here, I've also added some aluminium angle to support those drawer tops. And I've installed some riv nuts that will allow me to bolt those drawer tops down, but also remove them as well if I ever need to down the track. That's a rough plan anyway, time to get these installed. Oh, well, finally got that frame all installed, but not gonna lie, it was a pretty horrific job that's left me pretty sore and also, you know, cut and bleeding in some areas. So really putting my all into this project, but very happy to report that that frame is now fully functional and turned out exactly like I was hoping. Everything is super precise, like these drawers just clear that frame by a couple of millimeters, so no room for error, but it means we're also maximizing that space, which is fantastic. So I'm gonna call it a night on the project now. It's getting pretty late and I'm ready for a good night's sleep, but tomorrow is literally the home stretch, so very excited, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Time to build a top for this drawer system to make it look a little bit more closed in. Now, what I ideally want to get to is having a full edge-to-edge top all the way from this rear headboard to the front headboard in the canopy setup. However, if I make that out of a single piece of wood, I'll never be able to get it into the canopy setup. So instead, I'm going to be building separate tops for each of these drawer systems, and when combined, they should hopefully give me that nice edge-to-edge look. This will be constructed using the same 9mm marine ply as the rest of the drawer system. It's honestly way stronger than I expected it to be. I'll wrap it in carpet to give it a nice consistent look and bolt it in place. There we go, carpeted tops are installed. I've also added some little infill panels to the front here, and finally it's looking like a proper built-in four-wheel drive drawer system. So the last job, actually let me just bask in that for a minute. The last job for this whole project is going to be to make up some false walls to sit behind those drawers to essentially stop my gear from falling over the back into this void here or onto the battery there as well. Now that was something we did experience with my previous canopy setup. Stuff was just always falling over the back of that drawer module, so don't want to face that same problem again. So let's fire the saw up for hopefully the final time and get this project finished. Well, I stand before you a very, very happy man, having just finished my first proper set of four-wheel drive drawers in the back of the canopy. And I tell you what, I'm honestly so happy with how they've turned out. Now, don't get me wrong, they're definitely not perfect, and a professional can probably do a better job. But for my level of skills in my garage at home, I am really happy with how they've turned out. It's the absolute best work that I can do, and you can't ask for more than that. So now we have a full edge-to-edge drawer system with 3 drawers that come out the full way. So these maximum extension runners mean the rear of the drawer is just here, so we can easily access all our contents. And they're super strong on those 227 kilo runners. Above that, we have plenty of nice carpeted flat storage space for things like chairs, tables, and the like. And behind that, we have a nice strong carpeted rear wall to stop everything falling over the rear. At the very rear of the drawer system, I've also built a small removable panel just here with a bit of a handhold cutout. That comes out of the way to reveal some extra storage space on the very left-hand side of the drawers for things you don't need on a regular basis, maybe some spare parts and the like. And this panel itself literally just squishes underneath that rear wall, and the carpet is such a tight fit that it just presses down and stays firmly in place. This is actually an idea I got from a channel called JRC Adventures here on YouTube. He made an awesome video running through his own drawer build in a lot of detail, which is definitely worth checking out, so I'll link it in the description down below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys following along for this build series and all your positive comments as well. It's definitely kept me motivated to get these projects finished and also film them for the channel as well. This actually marks the end of the internal fit out for this canopy for now, but there's still plenty more to come on the outside of the vehicle, including a bit of a water tank setup, an onboard compressor, and of course many more things as well. So stay tuned for those projects coming out soon, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. So a bit of an update on this drawer build. We've just finished a roughly 2-week trip along the Gibb River Road here in WA.
Over 2 weeks actually.
Yeah, more than 2 weeks. And the drawers have been holding up really well too. Some pretty fierce corrugations and some pretty rough four-wheel drive tracks out that way as well. Definitely push these to the limits in terms of what we've been storing on top and what we've been storing inside. And not a single part of them has broken, and they've been just so handy for just our storage use.
Yeah, it's been so good, as Dunn said, for storage, and we've had so much storage. At the moment, these aren't at all at capacity. We could shove so much more in them, and we've got such a good platform on top, which, despite Daniel using some pretty thin-ish looking wood, has held up amazingly well. We've been across some of the roughest corrugations consistently, like every single day for the last couple of weeks. And we've had a lot of other things break, and yet this is nothing, even though it's had like a couple of hundred, well, probably like, over 100 kilos or more banging on top of it the whole way.
So still faultless, so very happy with that. And you might also notice a bit of an addition to the front of the drawers since you last saw them. Bianca has handmade some custom handles using paracord, done a fantastic job.
Yep, I quickly mastered that art of braiding paracord by watching a few handy YouTube videos.
Yep.
And yeah, made some custom handles, which I was not sure how they would hold up, but honestly, they've been great.
Yeah, they're so tough, so it gives you that nice handhold to pull open if you're trying to wrench that drawer open.
But also not slippery, which I really like. I didn't really think about that when I was making them, but yeah, and obviously you chose orange and black to go in with our export
Yes, perfect. Anyways, just wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on how these have been performing in the real world, which is really good. We're absolutely stoked with them. Yeah, so thanks so much for watching the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed this build, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Happy gaming.
What even happened? I was wondering what I was going to use as the blooper reel for the end of the video, and I think that's going to be it. What is going on? Ugh.